Last round, it was an instant classic at Road America. Several battles for podium positions, a close battle for the win in the final few moments, and a second victory for one of the top drivers in the series, and Brian Beard. Tonight, the top drivers in tonight's competition look to try and get back to oval racing at a track known for a long history of IndyCar action. Who will come away to take the checkered flag? We'll find out in a bit. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the virtual Michigan International Speedway in Brooklyn, Michigan for the Global SimRacing Channel's coverage of the Ultimate Conquest Online Racing Association Throwback Indycar Series presented by 94 Motorsports. Tonight, it's the Irish Hills 200. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Rocco Stallone. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. This is a track with a lot of history when it comes to IndyCar racing. First started in 1968 hosting races for open wheel events, all the way up to 2007, including the infamous US 500. It's hosted races at 500 and 400 miles, all set to host 200 miles of action tonight. But what's the best way around this track? Let's take a look at your GSRC lap guide to find out.
Welcome to the Michigan International Speedway. This 2-mile D-shaped oval located in the beautiful Irish Hills of southern Michigan, sitting about an hour and a half's drive to the southwest of Detroit along I-94, right in the backyard of Chevrolet and Ford. When you're that close to Detroit power, your speedway better live up to the hype. 18-degree banked corners with a 12-degree banked front stretch allow for maximum power and lots of action. The higher downforce IndyCars were able to put on spectacular shows of driver bravery and talent. In recent years, it's played host to mostly the tin top cars, as the NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, Gander Truck, and even ARCA Series have all hosted events here in the last decade. Michigan is a wide, sweeping oval, but it isn't harmless. The lowest groove of the corners near the bottom can be your very best friend in the IndyCar, but your worst enemy in the tin tops. Cars will frequently get loose that far down the track, causing chaos for the pack behind. Michigan is all about speed and lots of it. Often the drivers that find the most success here are the ones willing to experiment around the track and find grip their competitors haven't. The facility in recent years has doubled down on fan comfort as well, giving more elbow room, redoing seats, camping areas, even providing Wi-Fi to watch all of these live broadcasts in the grandstands of all the sections. All in all, Michigan has become a staple of American motorsports since it opened in 1968. Fans and drivers both always look forward to when the schedules come back to the beautiful Irish Hills of southern Michigan. Fast speeds, high action, it's all here at Michigan International Speedway, where it's your speed.
That was a look at your GSRC lap guide for Michigan International Speedway. Now let's bring up our broadcast partner for tonight, Rocco Stallone. It's a track, as mentioned, with a lot of history. Over the course of this track's facilities, long history when it comes to open wheel racing, 55 IndyCar races have taken place here, including 22 500-mile events. What do you expect tonight here from Michigan?
Well, Justin, the thing that makes this place great is that you said 500-mile events, and it's flat out all the time. You're getting banks at all times, up to 18 degrees in the turns. Tonight, we're going to have a real stiff wind to deal with. It's going to be 15 miles an hour. Should provide an interesting challenge. It's one thing to run around this track by yourself, but once you get in a pack and that air starts messing around with you, it's something you got to deal with. So we'll see how they handle this 2-mile track, Justin. I'm excited to watch it.
Absolutely. 18 degrees banking in the turns, 12 degrees at start and finish, 5 degrees down the back straightaway. And 5 drivers separated by 486 points entered tonight inside the top 5 in the driver's standings. Let's take a look at those as Paul Jenkins still looking for his first victory of the season, but with 11 top 10s in 12 races, he's been very consistent throughout the campaign. Brian Beard is second, 26 points back after his victory. Prepper Bluen's 385 points back in third. Andy Yerk and John Garrett round out the top 5 in the driver's standings entering this evening's action. Let's take a look at those race details, though, Rocco. They can be very crucial tonight.
Yeah, Justin, and we're just ticking them away. It's round 13 of 20. Again, running the Dallara IR05. It's the Throwback Indycar that this series is built around. Going to do it for 100 laps, 200 miles. It's going to be exciting. A lot of strategy to play in. We get 5 sets of tires tonight, again, which could be a nice, interesting strategy play to try to get a run up if you're not exactly as fast as the guy in front of you. And we'll be running custom fixed setups. Everybody's running the same setup, and it's been predetermined before the race by the stewards.
Indeed. Now, before we get towards what to expect for tonight, are you interested in advertising with GSRC? Our channel's 1 million monthly global impressions are a great way to get your branding seen by a diverse audience. Follow the link in the description for the YouTube version of this broadcast to learn more about the Global Sim Racing channel. Several drivers have been working on pack practice for the past hour, and you mentioned that wind very high, 15 miles an hour to the southwest. That's going to be a strong headwind for some of these drivers down the straights, Rocco.
Yeah, and with these big wings, that's going to wreak some havoc on some of these guys. I'm excited to see how they handle it because every element is going to make it different. If you're behind somebody, it's going to be a little different. If you're alongside someone, that air is going to be jumping all over these cars. And it really is going to be something to watch to see because you can get an amazing run on somebody and find yourself in a pickle right away when you're giving up 3 spots.
Mind you, that is gusting over the grandstands in turn 1 all the way towards the grandstands in turn 3. So that means a lot of wind being faced in the front and a good push from behind down the back straightaway. A few moments before we start off qualifying here for this race action tonight. One of the main tendencies you can see, though, is with it being full out much of this run here, Rocco, the slipstream is very important.
Yeah, Justin, and it's about as close to these Indy cars will get to running on a super speedway. It's flat out all the time, and you're dealing with all the G forces side to side, and the car is going through a bunch of forces too. So it's interesting to see them packed together. That's why we see them here during practice, I believe, trying to get a feel for how their cars are going to react around everybody. And there's going to be a lot of patience tonight. It's a long race. So you don't want to make that crazy move too early because you ain't pay for it, and then your long night might become a short one.
Rick Raven currently at the top of the pylon. Second is Travis Bennett. Dan Garrett in third spot. Paul Jenkins, Mark Cohen inside the top 5 in practice. And you mentioned potentially having to pay for being over-aggressive. Last year in this series, there was a barn burn between Beard and Ravon where they were locked into a savage battle for the victory. With 2 laps to go, though, they made enough contact for Brian Greenlee to come away with the victory. That was his first Yakura win at the time, Rocco. You don't want that to happen again if you're any of those drivers in 2020.
No, you don't want it to happen again. But again, if you're Greenlee, you want it to happen again, or somebody in this field, we can want it to happen again. We've seen a lot of guys win their first race just that exact same way. The seas kind of open up, and there's a finish line at the end. It would be exciting to see a finish like that tonight, though. I'm definitely hoping we could see that.
Qualifying about to get underway. These drivers set for 2 solo qualifying laps. Drivers meeting currently wrapping up as well over the radio. 5 minutes to set times for tonight's action. The pace with draft 33.9s to 34.1s. Just about the entire field covered by just 2/10. Solo qualifying can be very different, though. How do you attack qualifying if you're some of these competitors, Rocco?
Well, you always got to be mindful of the cold tires on your out laps. You don't want to put it into the wall, and you definitely don't want to spin it on one of the laps you're going out for. But as you said, the times are really close. There's not a lot of space in between as far as a big braking point or an acceleration zone. It's pretty flat out. So it's all about finding the best line, and then you're really just sticking to it. It's really a lot of commitment to find that extra 100th of a second to push you over 3 or 4 guys.
22 drivers have brought their machines to the racetrack for tonight. We'll see which one can set the pole. Nate Burke showing that he's trying to build up speed on that top line. That's something we normally see, say, at the super speedways in NASCAR for comparison. You talked about this being the super speedway for Indycars. We're seeing an example right there.
Yeah, and that's a pretty common practice as far as Talladega and Daytona, a little less, but more or less Talladega. You'll always run your first top lap and then head down to the bottom to get that momentum boost. And you're absolutely right, Justin. That's what we're seeing here, and it's actually kind of cool.
Fastest drivers so far coming in for their first laps, 34.4s by Scott Rupp, one of his first starts of the season. Paul Crumry also making one of his first starts. The fastest overall still is Andy Yerk with a 34.354. See which driver can set the fastest time, though, as should note that a couple drivers do have to shift a little bit in the corners.
Yeah, there's really a preference. You want to run the higher gear, obviously, when you get caught in the draft. But yeah, there's some shifting involved. It's flat out, but you can definitely gain an extra hundredth or lose one if you're not careful. So a lot of stuff that goes into driving this track. It seems like it's easy. You just hold the gas and turn left, but there's so much more that goes into it.
Yeah, it is extremely difficult to make sure that you don't blow the line. You don't go too high up the track. Don't go too low. Spin the machine. Several different variables, but Joe Hassert sets the fastest time so far by anybody. 33.992. That was nearly quicker than some of the best drivers in practice.
Yeah, and a very strong lap, and we've seen Big Joe Hassard be strong on some of the other ovals. So looks like he came to run tonight. See how if he's able to stay up under the 34 mark for the first time tonight.
Now Christopher now on top of the board. He's now the pole sitter with a 33.967. Some really quick blistering lap times and several drivers trying to take the time to practice. Rick Ray Vaughn only able to get up to P3. Travis Bennett trying to work his way around the racetrack. Where will Bennett's times go is the question. This is the end of his first lap. That's the quickest first lap out of anybody so far, it looks like, Rocco.
Yeah, he's really on it, and we'll see if he can follow that up with an equally fast second lap.
Dan Guerin, we've talked about him a little bit. Dan Guerin looking for a good run tonight because he's shown the talent in various different races. How do you feel it's going to come together tonight if you're some of these drivers looking for a bounce back?
Well, yeah, in the case of Dan Guerin, he's obviously won championships, so we should expect to see a strong performance out of him tonight. And a lot of these guys that maybe didn't perform so well last week on the road course, kind of getting their oval chops back and getting a little bit more in their element. And we'll see if they can stay up towards the front. Long race again, though, 100 laps, so it's a lot of battling.
It's Dan Guerin you're looking at once again. He's got a 34.5 on his first lap. That's the slowest out of anybody so far by 2/10, but remember, this is the second time around for this machine. He's one of the last drivers on the racetrack. The only other driver trying to make a time is Corey Bunch on this circuit.
And Corey Bunch, we've seen him run. I think we saw him run for the first time last week. Nice little showing. Had a few offs, a little bit of difficulty, but good to see him back.
Yeah, Corey Bunch is fairly impressive in that race. P8. He's now finished up and happy with the 35.8 as up to the pole. Dan Guerin, a 33.954.
Wow, that was a good lap.
And that's the type of performance he needed in qualifying. With some of the luck we've seen from him this season, 2 victories early on with 8 starts in 2020, and now gets himself some good points for the Top Qualifier Championship. That is brought to you by D2 Race Designs. They specialize in creating personalized and customized sim racing peripherals, as well as providing the RC racing community items that can make their days at the track more organized and efficient. The season's top qualifier won a customized button box, all thanks to the kind folks at D2 Race Designs. Brian Beard entered tonight at the top of that pile on by 62 points. Paul Jenkins, Eric Jeffers, Nate Burke, and Andy Yerk rounded out the top 5 entering tonight, separated by 140 points. But that's going to have a bit of a shakeup after tonight's qualifying. Dan Guerin sets the pole time tonight, a 33.954, puts him at the head of the field tonight. That is his first pole of the season. In second, Christopher alongside Paul Jenkins and Jason and Galvin inside the top 4. Great run in qualifying for the 42. Mark Cohen in P5, Joe Hassard in P6, Travis Bennett in P7, Rick Ray Vaughn looking to recover after a DNF in the road course race at Road America last time out. Andy Yerk and Nate Burke round out your top 10, Rocco.
Yeah, Justin, 11th spot. We look at Justin Kirby looking to continue his strong performance from last week. Diego Sensos alongside of him in 12th spot. Paul Crumry next behind them, 13th, alongside Richard Swavely, 14th. Lewin and Arellano, 15th and 16th, respectively. Campagnoni is alongside Scott Rupp in 17th and 18th. And then rounding out your top 20 in the 10th row, Chris Laniti and Corey Bunch. A couple guys that didn't set a lap time. We had Christopher Matrizian, who had a strong run last week, and then Derek Cook in the 83. They'll be starting from the back.
Myself, Garen did have a pole in one of the early starts of the season at Watkins Glen. That's a second total pole, but the first on an oval. There are two spotlight drivers tonight who have the focus, the first being Justin Kirby tonight. He starts off in P11 with 3 top 5s and 4 top 10s on the evening and 5 starts in 2020. He also came away with the top 5 at Road America. His best finish was P3 at Indianapolis. In real life, he is a co-owner and operator of a funeral home and funeral services company. He's also been a longtime iRacing member from Oregon, Wisconsin. The second spotlight driver tonight starts in P5. Mark Cohen also coming off a strong performance with 3 straight top 5s, and his 3 starts so far in 2020. Hasn't finished lower than P4 in any of the races so far. So runs an iRacing-based YouTube channel called the MLC Racing Channel that sponsors several series events as seen on the Global SimRacing channel and various cars both virtually and in real life. The spotlighted drivers are brought to you by Midwest Simulations. If you watch the track, we'll watch the rest. Use the promo code THROWBACK for $5 off a set of their Spotlight's visual spotting system. Find out more at MidwestSim.com. Once again, to touch upon tonight, 100 laps the distance, 200 miles, that's 321.7 kilometers. 4 sets of tires available in the pits tonight. Max fuel load 82%, that's about 18 gallons. Fuel stints expected to be 34 to 36 laps to be a 2-stopper for tonight. Also keep in mind that the 2-strike rule is in effect tonight, meaning any drivers deemed to be the reason for 2 cautions will be parked for the remainder of the race. Your quick final thoughts, Rocco, before the green.
Just ready to see these guys go quick, and it's nice to see Dan Guerin on the pole. Wishing these guys the best of luck. Let's get at it, gentlemen.
Safety truck rolling off in turn 4. Guerin looking to wheel the Midwest Simulations machine to victory lane. Christopher starts in P2. Several drivers already trying to back up at the top line. Off and away goes Guerin. Green flag is out. We're underway from MIS.
Good jump. We saw him. It's always the top guy on these Indy starts that's always going to have the advantage. Took advantage of it, but we're seeing Christopher mounting an early charge for that lead.
Christopher was able to shove off Paul Jenkins in the battle for second already. He tries to work his way on the high side. Faster line down the straight. First lap goes again. Dan Guerin in the 08 machine. But now it's going to be the question, how patient do you be in this type of race tonight?
Well, Justin, I think you got to find out how patient you're willing to be. I think a lot of these guys are testing the waters real early, seeing that high line kind of come into form, maybe just testing it out. But I think they're seeing how patient they can be and how long they can do it.
Already Stover trying to run that middle line. Up the track this time goes Guerin. Forced to check up a bit as the 7. Paul Jenkins now with slipstream. Joe Hasser, though, is starting to reel him on in as well. 3 wide behind number 5.
Yeah, these guys are really antsy from the get-go. It's fun for us. A lot of good racing back there. 5th, 6th, and 7th. Wow, side by side, almost 4 wide back there.
Able to get back 2 wide, but the battle for the race lead again side by side. Christopher wanting to work his way on the high line. Forced to back off the gas, though. He's been faster down the straightaways, though. That is the preferred line off the corners at some cases here at Michigan. Once again, though, towards the stripe, it's Guerin who still leads after 3 quick laps. 34.2s.
Yeah, side by side, 1st and 2nd place, and about 5 guys right behind them. Everybody's really quick to get up to pace. Looks like everybody's on their game tonight. This should be good.
Already 2 by 2 up inside the top 4. Rick Ravon has now joined the fun. He made it 3 wide on the bottom, mind you, for P5. He wants to try and get the race lead early. Was one of the quickest drivers in practice. A 33.906 in that session. The fastest in the race already. A 33.8 by Justin Kirby last time by. No move yet from Ray Vaughn.
Yeah, Justin, and Chris Stouffer just definitely keeps pinning it to the top. He's been up there for the first 5 laps. He's being persistent. We're seeing that top line slow down a little bit. Interesting enough, we're seeing Dan Guerin kind of work the high line here.
Our new fastest lap set by Kirby in P10, but that time Guerin able to take away that line. Now Rick Ray Vaughn takes away the bottom line. Trying to get the squeeze. Ray Vaughn looking for the race lead for the first time. He's a +6 in the span of 5 laps. Doesn't have the drafting help, however. Stouffer now trying to help Guerin to get back second.
Yeah, I wonder if he was hoping if he could push him. Can't do it in a winged car, but that would have been cool.
So it's the risk of damage if you do that, but Ray Vaughn was able to slide up. Now everyone's starting to go up to the top wall. One of the main concerns you have to think about, Rocco, is how's the tire wear going to be if you fight like this for too long?
Well, when you get in these battles that are this tight, it's really easy to just totally forget about the tire wear. We're seeing these guys wheel to wheel. It's interesting, Justin. We might see it come into play earlier because of all this battling.
New race leader Rick Ray Vaughn led that time of the stripe by 0.4 of a second. Still, he is stuck on the top line now, and Stouffer's now switched off to the bottom. Jenkins still watching the fun, all while Galvin and Hassard side by side, several rows deep, 2 by 2. What a battle amongst these drivers. Ray Vaughn looking to get clear. Yes, he does. New race leader Rick Ray Vaughn. Stouffer now makes it 3 wide for the race lead.
3 wide, lap 8. This is insane.
Welcome to IndyCar at Michigan. Are you having fun yet? Ray Vaughn moves up to the top. He's now single file. Now the battle's on for second. Everybody else starting to calm down, it looks like, though, here, Rocco,
Justin,
finally.
if this is your version of calm down, I want to see what's crazy for you.
6 wide down the front.
I think we might get that tonight.
It's still 2 wide for much of the pack now. Once again, Guerin still stuck on the bottom. Trying to draft on by Stouffer. Ray Vaughn still preferring that middle line with the squeeze. That, however, has allowed another driver to join the fun. That's Jason Galvin, who is the second car on the bottom. He got a bit squirrely off, too.
Jason Galvin points his nose in and says, hey, guys, I'm here, too. He's bringing friends, too. There's about 9 guys in this front pack.
Big Joe Hassard is also following on by in the choo-choo on the bottom side. Paul Jenkins now has been forced up to the top. Cohen's trying the top. Yerka's trying the top. Kirby, one of our spotlight drivers in P10, he's now starting to want to move up because he's been the fastest car on the racetrack at the back of the lead pack.
We saw Ray Vaughn make that overtake for the spot. He had a great run coming across from Derek Guerin. So much going on right now. 2 by 2, second place all the way back to 10th. Everybody's switching back and forth. We see Guerin coming back, and we see Galvin peeking his nose in, looking for the lead.
That'll run for Ray Vaughn. Finally, single file off turn 4 after the craziness. Guerin, though, back on the middle line to try and balance back. Galvin now gets the draft. Ray Vaughn trying to play the slipstream. And this is something, when you look back at the film of the races here at Michigan International Speedway, was commonplace. Drivers went all the way down to the white line down the back straightaway, trying to break up slipstream off the fellow competitors.
Yeah, we saw a car flash by. That's the 83 of Derek Cook. He started, I believe, from the pits. He's 9 laps down. Rough start for this guy, but back up front with you, Justin.
Yes, indeed. He was the last driver in practice, missed the start due to issues. Now is 22nd on the racetrack. Will need some luck tonight. Speaking of drivers trying to play their luck, green and black machine. Chris Stouffer now trying to play the outside. Galvin able to force him too high up. That allows Dan Guerin to make it side by side. And here comes Galvin for the race lead.
Trying to stick his nose on the inside. Let's see if he can get him just around the side before they get into the turn. It looks like he's going to do it side by side.
This has been amazing racing so far. By the way, we're almost halfway through the fuel stint. Galvin had to check up off the corner, though. Ray Vaughn still leads for the time being. It's now 2 by 2, 5 cars in the lead pack. Joe Hassert losing touch in 6th from this group.
Yeah, I'm looking at Rayvon here. He got a little squirrely off that turn. Almost got into the back of him from, I believe it was Stouffer, but coming down the back stretch, excellent pull. Pulls in the first place.
Yeah, Galvin really has to back off the gas. Rayvon off the track, Stouffer off the gas as well. This has allowed Paul Jenkins back in the fun. Look at Justin Kirby, though. He's now up to 7th already. Joe Hassert now has a shot with 3 wide for P3.
Yeah, Galvin impeded Guerin just a little bit, forced him to get off the gas. And now we see Galvin making another charge, trying to stick his nose under Rayvon for this lead.
At this point, do you want to be right in the mix of things, or do you want to try and back up a couple car lengths if things get too crazy?
Well, I mean, I don't want to wish bad on anybody, but, you know, let's see how long we can keep this going. There's always that in the back of your mind that guys racing this hard might have something happen.
Lead pack right now includes 11 drivers. 12th on back has 2 cars. Then the next pack is about 14th on back. For the grouping for the race lead has been some of the best racing so far in the month of July on the iRacing service. Jenkins up to 3rd. He's forced to check up on Stouffer's. Galvin wants his spot back.
Yeah, Justin, it's going all over the track. I'm looking all the way back in the field. They're 3 wide back there, too. Obviously, our main focus up front, 4 wide almost going into this turn. Amazing pack racing. These guys are really being courteous. It's interesting to see how much give and take we get as this race gets deeper.
Back 2 by 2 once again, though, for 3rd on back, by the way. Top 2 single filed out. And now Christopher trying to use the slipstream to run off and away. How big, though, is, say, the aero push, in your opinion, at a track such as this? Some of these drivers have really had to check up in some of the corners.
Well, yeah, you don't want that thing getting tight, because if you're going to be getting tight, you're going to go up in the wall. And again, we were talking about it prior to the green flag. All this bouncing around, all this pack racing, this air is bouncing off everybody. Very unpredictable.
Stouffer now starting to cool things on down towards the halfway point of the stint. Justin Kirby is still working his way on the bottom, by the way, as one of the spotlight drivers. He's now the 3rd driver that line, because Stouffer now is the lead car in the train. He wants some clean air now and has front wing.
Pretty aggressive challenge by Stouffer. He's just trying really hard to make it stick. I think he might be able to do it.
Big slide from Stouffer up the track. No. Here comes Galvin, though, to take advantage.
Is Galvin going to make it 3 wide?
Yes, indeed he does. Back to 2 wide. What a run for Jason Galvin. He's your race leader.
Wow, he's doing lap 99 moves on lap 18. That was an incredible pass.
And look at that. He's now playing high IQ moves too, trying to break up the slipstream and give it to some aero drivers to try and force them to fight. That's exactly what we were just talking about a little bit while ago, what we haven't seen for the race leaders yet today.
Yeah, you try to find yourself in that little pocket in front of the car, from the car in front of you, and if it's moving back and forth, it makes it harder to stay in. Justin, another challenge.
Rayvon now a bit higher up on the corner entry, though. Galvin's back to 2nd. Hard cut down to the bottom side.
Oh, Galvin cut the nose off of Stouffer. That was rough.
They're being very cutthroat, it seems, for some of these moves with how quick the pace has been. Remember, 206 miles an hour in the corners. With the draft, you can go up to 210 in the corners.
And Justin, just like that, we're getting deep into this fuel run.
It's going to be very intriguing once everyone has to start to pit here with how quick the pace has been. Mind you, we're just about 14 minutes into racing action. It's flown by these 20 laps so far. Galvin up to the race lead again, though.
Yeah, and these guys so tight. First all the way back to about 10th spot. What is there, a gap of a second?
If that, it's about more 7/10 of a second inside the pack, make it 8/10. At the back end of that group, you see Neat Burke and Travis Bennett trying to back up a little bit. Now this becomes the question, how do you try and play out the pit strategy here in this race? We talked about the 2-stopper, but this could be difficult if you say...
Oh, Galvin caught a little bit of the apron. Sorry, Justin. I saw him wiggle real bad coming off that turn.
Guerin once again trying to make the pass here, but how do you play this pit strategy with how this lead is going?
Oh, I don't know, Justin. It's one of those things where you kind of got to predict what the guy behind you is going to do, because you don't want to get caught out with these things. But I'm excited about seeing this. 21 laps, pure green flag running. These guys are really on tonight.
Garen now leads at the stripe that time by. He's trying to hold off Ravon to the bottom. Stouffer has been very aggressive. Now Joe Hassert in one of his best positions to try and run inside the top 3 on the night. Also, Justin Kirby, should note, has moved up to the top line in the 43 machine for the first time.
Yeah, and again, as we switch over, we see Galvin going on the inside. He's taking Ravon with him, and Stouffer pounding Garen. So you can just see how hard it is to keep up the lead. Wow, an incredible run to get the lead back for Garen.
That could have been a disaster once again as Galvin falls back to second. Garen back up to the point. That's allowed a good run for Ravon, though, with lots of momentum from Galvin on the block.
Yeah, Justin, and we've seen it a couple times. These guys get that front left rear just under that yellow line, and they've been able to save it, but a couple of big moments for a few guys up front.
Ravon finally gets to where he wants to be in all this. On board, this is Joe Hassert. He's got a big boost. Ravon now backs up. Ravon wants to save fuel in the slipstream, it looks like.
We got 3 wide racing coming in the start-finish.
Hassert back to 2 wide. Charges hard at 210 miles an hour into the apex. Big push up the track, however. Galvin back up to P2. Hassert now forced to back up as Ravon gets that slipstream, and this could be crucial for that exact timing of the lap, Rocco.
Yeah, it's all about timing and everything. Pit stops, timing your run on time on a specific lap. A lot of timing and a lot of concentration, Justin. It's easy to think that these guys have it easy, but the concentration that this requires, like 3 wide again.
This is now Kirby, one of your spotlight drivers. He pushes up. Hassert takes the lead. 4 wide,
wow.
Back to 3 down the back. What a move by Stouffer, looking for it back.
And none of them are given anything. This is great.
Contact.
And they touch.
That's Kirby touching tires with Stouffer. Everyone's okay. Bit of a checkup inside the pack. Still 2-3 wide up at the front.
I think Garen is making these passes so close to the guy in front of him, right, left, or left rear tire.
That could have been very, very disastrous if there was any more contact than that. Kirby, though, up to second. And a spotlight driver. Here's a look on board with this machine. This is the highest he's been on the night so far. +9, he's your biggest mover too.
And you can just hear how flat out you are, and then you can just see how having a guy in front of you messes with it just a little bit, just enough to make it dangerous.
And now he tries to take the race lead. Garen gives it to him. Garen falls back to second. And now off and away goes Kirby. Clean racetrack ahead for the blue and white machine.
Yeah, we've seen this pack. We've seen it from the beginning of the race. You know how hard Kirby had to work his way through all this madness.
Yeah, and from what I noticed there, Rocco, he was very patient with where he made his move. Stayed at the bottom early on in the second half of the stint. Started a push, gained that track position. Now, he's looking very confident, it seems. Even though Garen nearly hit the back wing, looking like he's got some decent pace to at least be inside the top 3 by the time they have pit stops. All while Galvin, for comparison, who pushed a lot at the midway point of the stint, he's now being freight trained back to P5.
Yeah, just a little bit of patience, a little bit of luck, a little bit of skill, sprinkle all that, you end up in the first spot. We saw that top line trying to form a little bit. Looks like they're trying again, and we're going to go on board real quick and take a few laps around in some heavy traffic.
It's Stouffer. Trapped in 6th. They're 2-3 wide for the race lead just in front. You can see with how much revs are being put in, some of the miles an hour, trying to be patient with where he is on the throttle, how he times up the runs.
That's 220 miles an hour right behind the guy in front of you, guy to your left, and the guy breathing down your neck right behind you.
Back up front, Joe Hassert now leads some of his first laps of the night. The number 10 machine. We've seen some good speed from him this campaign. He's now trying to hold off Kirby once again. New fastest lap set by Travis Bennett, because Bennett, who was about half a second behind at some points in this pack, he's now starting to charge before the pit stops. He's in 9th.
Yeah, Justin, we're seeing these guys get incredible runs out of the turn 2 going into the backstretch. Oh, it was so close. And we're seeing guys take advantage of it. If you don't lift, you can really run it around the high side. You see 3 wide up front, Justin.
And Bennett also forcing 3 wide of the back part of the pack as well. Kirby now leads up at the point and near 4 wide for Travis Bennett. He drifts up out in towards the marbles. Kirby forced to chuck up again. Garen with another run down the back straightaway.
Yeah, now we're seeing separate lanes of 3 wide, almost 4 wide. It looked like Stouffer may have touched the wall. He got really high up there.
Yeah, that was extremely close. I think he actually did scuff the safer barrier. No damage, though. Does lose some of the track position after so much pushing from him. Pit stop window expected to open in the next 2 laps, though. And the craziness as one car making contact. Ray Vaughn and Kirby touch again.
Hey, Justin, I don't know how they did not go around.
And now that's for Travis Bennett up the middle. Up to 4th position. Looking for the back end of some of the cars. 2-1 for 2nd spot. Joe Hassard starting to run away. As Dan Guerin tries to hold on to the bottom still.
So a little bit of a flash there. Hope it's not that big a deal for Dan Garrett. I don't want to see anything interrupt this battle. We are going to see pit stops, though. That's going to be a nice interruption because it's going to break things up really nicely. These guys are going to have to be on their game.
Expecting hands out the window in the next couple laps. Window starts at 34. Expect to go as long as lap 36 based on testing by these drivers. Kirby making it 3 wide again to gain back some of the track position on Travis Bennett. 3 wide for the lead as Galvin tries to time up the run. Decides not to take it. Guerin does take it on the bottom side again for the race lead. For now.
Yeah, Justin, and now's the time when even though everybody's competing with each other, they got to kind of work as a team to make sure everybody can get in and out of these pits clean. This race has been great, and nobody wants to disrupt that by doing something a little less than smart, getting in and out of the pits.
Will anybody duck down this time? No. In the lead pack, none of the drivers duck down to that grouping. It's now lap 35 of this race. 65 to go this time by. And now Galvin trying to take away that all-important top line. It seems every single time we get to the back straightaway, if you've got the top, you can take the lead once the tires wear out by the time you get to 3.
Yeah, that momentum is something, and I wonder if Rayvon is getting ready to go in. We see him communicating. I think he's ready to duck in this time around.
Yes, indeed. He's peeling out. Several of the drivers in the 2nd, 3rd packs joining. Chris Stouffer nearly hit the back end of him and took a spot. Wow, that was close. Spin right behind as well. Let's take a look at the replay, though, of the near contact. Spin, by the way, in reference was to the 11 machine, but look at how hard this entry was from the 7.
Woo! Wow.
What can I say? The more confident you are in the pit entry, the more time you can gain. And if you push too hard, you seen the car in the backdrop, you're like him.
Oh, we got a big crash trying to enter. Oh, a couple of the leaders involved. We got him, caution flag out.
Justin Kirby and company are in it. Travis Bennett's in it. Several of the air drivers with contact. Joe Hassert with a penalty with the contact. And this just shook up the whole entire running order because this was just as everyone who ducked down the last time was coming out.
Yeah, a lot of chaos trying to get into that pit lane. We're going to take a look at it and see how this all unfolded.
Here's an onboard at Justin Kirby. Keep an eye on the 3 wide that pops up about here.
Looks like someone got into him and spun him inside. He got the inside retaining wall.
Now you're going to see it with Travis Bennett tire contact. That driver on the bottom wanted to pit. And it looked like Bennett almost got a bit squirrely there while Kirby was pushing up.
Right, and I don't know if Bennett was under the impression that Kirby was going to duck in. He was going a little fast, obviously. But I don't know. It's tough to make that decision in a split second. Easy for us to say that. We're sitting here.
That results in him flipping over with significant damage to that race car. Bennett now shuffled to the back of the field, forced to take a tow. And now this is going to take a lot of sorting out because Several drivers got penalties with the pits closed. Other drivers did also come out of the pit lane. So this may flip the order upside down a little bit here, Rocco.
Right, Justin. And how many times have we seen this? And this is the type of race that, even though we've seen the top guys battling it out all night so far, it's a time for somebody that you might not even think of to sneak up, because, like you said, a lot of guys are going to have to be doing a lot of jockeying for position, because that caution came out at a rough time for a ton of guys.
And remember, this is a quick track in terms of caution flags. Big tracks such as Michigan, Talladega, Auto Club, and many others such as this distance have short caution flag periods. 2 to go has been given to the driver, so this may take some time to sort this out as well. Of note, anyone who got penalties trying to avoid incidents did have their black flags cleared. That was Hassert, Galvin, Cohen, and Dan Guerin, who had their black flags cleared at the time of the yellow.
Yeah, and I like when a league does that, because it gives guys the freedom to really get out of the wreckage and not be penalized for it. So good. It's always nice to see tiny little nuances of a league well put together like that.
2 drivers did get penalties under this caution flag. Chris Lanini, Giulio Campagnoni did get EOL penalties with the incident. Corey Bunch also had a black flag waved during this yellow flag. Others also reportedly discussing that possibility as well. But the running order at the moment with the caution flag, Joe Hassard is currently P1, Burke is 2nd, Galvin in 3rd, Cohen in 4th. P5 is Dan Guerin on the track. Check that: Hassard, Galvin, Cohen, Guerin, and now Jenkins, Crumry, Nate Burke, Richard Swavely, Diego Acesnos. Round out the top 9. Kirby has been cycled back to P10. There is 1 fast repair available, 2 drivers if needed. In other words, some of the top contenders still up at the front, but others, they got some work to do, Rocco.
Yeah, and that fast repair is obviously the saving grace for a few guys. Still got to find your way to the pits. Like we saw Bennett, he ended up on his roof, so obviously you can't roll to the pits. Got to take it till you're going to lose a lap. But again, a lot of guys are now down to no fast repair. We still see the same names up front. So all the chaos so far, we're seeing the top runners. It's going to be interesting. We're 40 laps into this thing. I mean, how fast is this thing going by, Justin?
Yeah, some of the quickest races had always been, in my experience with the Cup car, at this track, because you would rarely see a caution flag. You'd spend about a 100-lap race in the time, Rocco, and complete the race in an hour. These drivers are going really quick, mind you, and averaging 33, 34 seconds. So these are flying, as the caution flag has been extended to continue to sort out timing and scoring here for some of these competitors.
Yeah, a little bit of extra debris on the track that needs to be cleared off gives us another lap to go around. But like you were saying, Justin, it's a different level of skill. Like it's not a road course where you have to be pinpoint and find your braking points. I mean, you're flat out a lot. It's knowing what the guy behind you is going to do. It's knowing what the guy in front of you is going to do, and then to do it consistently, like we've seen so far tonight, it's been really impressive.
They've added an air pace lap as well, because several drivers have to let others go. Christopher among the drivers trying to make passes. Rupp, Patrizion, and several drivers are now going to be in great track position with the caution. Gaston Arellano, we mentioned his pit mistake, Rocco. Because of the timing of the yellow with some of the EOLs given to some of the competitors, he's going to be in P3.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys are lucky this is a longer track, because if it was shorter, they'd be a lap down. So, no real harm there. All the way back to 18th spot, still on the top lap. Bennett being the first car a lap down. And yeah, Justin, it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. A lot of guys running up front that we're not used to seeing run up front. That should be interesting too.
Drivers have been confirmed. 1 to green this time by expected. Nate Burke, Richard Swavely are now P1 and P2 without a shuffling. Ray Vaughn's now in 3rd. Stolfer's up to 4th. Yerk is now 5th. Rupp, Matrizion, Rolano, Hasser, P9, Galvin, P10. So expecting to go green with about 59 to go in Rocco. This is a one-stopper to the end.
Yeah, and then now it's just an idea of when you're going to get fuel and then how many times you're going to stop to get tires. Unfortunately, I've been watching a lot of racing, and it usually is the old adage, cautions breed cautions. That could notch up a little bit of the strategy. We'll see how it plays out.
And as expected, lights now turn off on the pace truck. Your expectations for what we'll see, because some of these drivers up at the front now were in the second and third pack, Rocco, which was up to 3-4 seconds back.
Yeah, a very good opportunity for some of those guys that maybe lost touch with the main draft to get back up into play. They could be pushing a little harder than the guys in front of them that have been running up there the whole race. So we'll see how the two mingle, and hopefully they can stay off one another. But a few of these guys are probably going to be very aggressive from the drop to green.
And the drivers pinning now lap down now with the caution flag. Bennett, Copignoni, Corey Bunch on those drivers. Bunch trying to pass by some drivers. He has been told he has to start in front of a few competitors in this line. Other than that, everything else has been sorted, it appears, for tonight's action as he finds his spot in the pacing line. How do you time up a restart, in your opinion, the best when it comes to this track without lighting up the tires and not being too slow on the start?
I think it's just trying to train yourself to go when the guy in front of you goes. Unfortunately, you're at his mercy, but I think as far as keeping it clean and straightforward, that's when you do it.
Coming to 59 to go, Nate Burke in control of the field in the 7-Eleven machine. Swavely falls on behind. Pace truck moves off the track. Off and away goes Burke. Green flags back out. We're underway. Good jump for the race leaders. Lap traffic a hole for third on back, though. Derek Cook is mixed in with third on back.
We got guys in the grass, Justin. Guys toward the back of the pack in the grass. I'm not sure if they're going to throw a caution, but we got cars in the grass.
That's Travis Bennett and Corey Bunch at the very back of the field. We stay green as the leaders run off and away. And the pack has separated a ton already.
Nate Burke away clean. Richard Swavely behind him, kind of by himself. And then we got third, fourth, and fifth bunched up, but a lot of space in between these guys. Not like the first restart, not like the first start we saw.
Damage for both Bennett and Bunch. Remember, they had to come in for fast repairs, but the leaders, they're currently separated in the top 5 by 1.5 seconds this time. Remember, before the yellow in the pit stops, the top 11 were separated by 0.7 of a second. So a chance to breathe for now is the thing.
Yeah, nail right on the head with you, Justin, because, yeah, exactly. They're going to breathe for a little bit now, but, you know, we know how these cars are going to act. We know that the cars are going to congeal a little bit. They're going to become a lot tighter. What's interesting is the group behind them is a little larger than this initial group, so we should see some times gained if they can actually run together and work as a team to catch this front pack.
That's Dan Guerin, Jason Galvin and company, Paul Crummery. They're fighting a lot in the P8 on back group. Compare that to what you see on the screen with single file. They're being nice and calm. They were, at least until they ditched Richard Swavely. Now, Rick Ravon. He wants his lead back and wants it now. Good run off of turn 4. Move Rick Ravon up to the point once again. And Christopher, his battle buddy, comes back up.
Yeah, Justin, and just while
oh, trouble, turn 4.
Crash back
Joe
there.
Hassard. Paul Crumley also involved. It's just about to say, you seen how crazy it was in that group?
Yeah, Justin, they were getting really dicey back there. It was way back there. Like, they thought they were all up front.
They were losing time, mind you, from that, and now this rebunches up the field. Let's take a look at what happened as this additional drive, as Hassard's still having trouble.
That's terrible. I hate when that happens.
Take a look. This is the second group.
Yeah, we just see the contact, and obviously you get sucked into the wall. A couple casualties behind you, and it's just unfortunate. These guys, they were running clean up front. Put them back in there in that dirty air, a little less tight.
See one driver, that was Travis Bennett, nearly hit him. Here's an arrow look up top. See just contact with the right rear tire to the left front tire. Hassard getting the worst out of that incident, by the way. So caution flag now coming to 54 laps to go. Chance to reset, but Rick Ravon now is your leader. Burke, Stouffer, Swavely, Yerk, the top 5. Jason Galvin apparently may have wing damage on the 42 machine, by the way, with a very, very tiny tweak on his front wing, should know.
Yeah, we've seen Galvin very aggressive in the early stage of this race.
Who are some of the drivers you're keeping an eye on for when we get back going around the halfway point now then?
Well, we got a few front row mainstays. We got Rick Ravon up there. We're used to seeing him up front. Another strong run from Nate Burke. Richard Swavely, we've seen around the top 5 before. Christopher Matrizian with his great run. Another almost repeat performance, starting from the back in 21st spot. He's in 6th spot, so he's definitely the hard charger award so far. And then Scott Rupp making his one of his few appearances in this series. He's up from 18th to 7th spot. So a lot of guys to do that. And then obviously we got the names like Galvin. Be interesting to see how Dan Guerin can recover. I think these guys will be a little bit more keen on this start. So I don't think we'll see the breakup that we did initially on that last restart.
This brings in the strategy game, though, because a couple drivers, you may notice on the pylon, did fall down. That's because they came into pit and top off. As Sense knows, did not take tires. Guerin and Lanini did. That adds a little bit more fuel into the tank. And remember, timing of how much fuel you put in the car, Rocco, was a big talking point at Road America and determined some of the positions at the end.
Yeah, Justin, and that, again, that's very astute because, again, it's not necessarily nobody's going to make it here on a full tank of gas, but you're absolutely right. If you take that extra second or you don't have to take that extra second to put gas in the car, that's what 100 feet. So it's very valuable to not have to spend as much time fueling and cut it close.
And have a lighter race car too.
Absolutely.
So Rick Ravon again in control of the field, expecting one to go this time. Word from race control, no strikes for any of the past 2 incidents, by the way, for any of the drivers. To explain that, essentially, there is a penalty point system per round that is for reviewing at fault at the end of races. Few drivers have reached the very tipping end. Most drivers have only had 1 or 3. No strikes for anyone in the incidents tonight to put them at risk for being parked for a second strike, as we talked about the 2-strike policy so far.
Yeah, Justin, and there's a lot of few bylines and intricacies to that system. It's a good system though. It keeps these guys pretty clean. Not like these guys really need it, but it's always good to have that backing. But I think that's fair. I didn't see any real fault in either one of those 2 accidents. Just hard racing and just a little bit of contact, and that's just what happens.
The drivers lined up expecting the restart. 52 to go this time. Let's talk about Matrician, the biggest mover so far, a plus 16 now on the race. And remember, he had spent at one time 50 seconds in the pit lane with damage.
Can't sometimes you just get lucky, and that's it's a strong showing. We saw the same thing, like I said last week. He started low in the field, and of course he was up front toward the end.
See how this start goes. 52 laps to go. Rick Ravon in control of the field. Burke, Stouffer, Yerk, Matrician, the top 5. Past couple times, early jumps. As soon as that pace truck crosses across the mark. Way early jump. Is that too early? Rick Ravon off and away. And that might be a penalty, Rocco. If you jump too early and pass the safety truck before they get the trigger that they're in the lane, you're risking a black flag.
That was real close, Justin. I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to make that call, but we see the result. Look at the gap that formed between all of the field. I mean, we're almost separated by an entire backstretch here. Interesting start, nonetheless.
No indication of any trouble there. It may have been down to a couple feet for that call. Christopher wheels it to the left side. He's now back up to second quickly. Big burst of speed, 213 miles an hour into 1.
Yeah, we saw him get a huge run and get in for the second spot. Burke better be careful peeking over that yellow line. We've seen that yellow line end guys' days.
Stouffer now wants the lead. 218 now with that win. Remember the headwind down the front, the win from behind down the back straightaway. Christopher uses that win to take the race lead on the bottom. Nate Burke tries to follow through. These guys are gone from everybody else. 1.2 seconds separates the leader from P4. That's 1.1 seconds from P3 to P4.
Yeah, we're looking at 5th, 6th, probably all the way back to 15, 11. These guys are coming together, so we should see them start to make a push up the field. But these top 3 up front, keeping it close, tight racing.
And this might come down as well to how some of these drivers play it for the strategy card. See Burke now trying to get an edge in front, but Rayvon's just trying to play the lines, it seems. Draft off both of these machines, not be forced to check up too much, save a little bit of fuel, sacrifice the time for the lead, yes, but they've got a lot of time to work with. They've been running away from everybody else who, remember, haven't been working together too much.
Yeah, and we've seen it 1,000 times that with these types of cars at these speeds, you really can't run up front without without anybody catching you. A guy can get a half a lap start, and eventually he's going to get caught. It's all about drafting on these tracks. And I'm telling you, that group behind, they're starting to look racy. They're starting to come as one big unit. I think we'll see them in and play about 4 or 5 laps.
Want to see if we can head towards that group. You see them starting to form up now behind Jason Galvin. They've elected to have him as their lead car. This is very different from where they were still 2 to 3 wide before and fighting a lot before the caution flag for the second time. Now they're actually using the drafting train that we were expecting them to try. 33/8 last time by, the leaders are in the 34 flats.
Well, yeah, we saw them on that last stint. They were getting a little racy back there, and I don't know if they realized they were all back in the pack and not up front, but it seems they learned, and they're definitely using each other more, a little bit to their advantage as opposed to fighting it out, and we see a challenge up front.
They're also reeling in, by the way, as you can tell, Andy Ure. A 10th a lap. Up at the front, race lead, changing hands. Rayvon back up to the point for now. Christopher back on the bottom side. Retakes it in the corner. 46 to go this time by, as near squeeze for Rayvon.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a thankless struggle up front because you're pushing as hard as you can, but you cannot stop this group of cars that's eking in on you, getting like 2-3 tenths of a second with every lap.
Here's the problem now, too. Andy Yerk's actually reeling these guys in now. He started to get inside the draft. Same thing goes inside the draft if Yerk or the driver's fifth on back. So this train, they go from 3 drivers up to as high as about 10 drivers if this pace continues that we're seeing from behind them.
Yeah, and it's amazing how you can actually see it. We see them starting to break up back there. I'm not quite sure why, but we see them breaking up, and you can see them actually, oh, there's some tight racing back there. These guys are starting to get on top of each other. They got to stick to a line or else they're not going to catch the top guys.
Stouffer got the clean air still. Rayvon pulls away for second. Now they're starting to line up inside the top 3 for now. Yerk is now within 6 tenths of the top 3. Will Rayvon elect to take the run, or will he elect to try and hold it off? We've seen it down the back from some. I think this time Rayvon's taking the smart line. I think he's realized they need to line up or else they'll be caught.
Yeah, we're going to take a look from Yerk. He's looking up at that top 3. A little bit of a gap in between them. We see them bouncing back and forth, but it does look like he's in that draft. It does look like he's getting a little bit of a pull. So I think this top 3 gaggle here is going to get caught, and I think we're going to go from 3 to about 10.
Absolutely agree with you on that one. There's also a second pack, 11th on back. Here's the difference, though. Despite the fact they've been quicker at times than the race leaders in the fastest laps so far this run, or in some of that pack at times, they lost a lot of touch, and that's going to mean they need luck to try and reach up to the front runners. You see some of them on screen.
Well, yeah, these guys up front, now they're linked up. Now they're staying single file. It's going to take a lot of running. It's just the fact that there's more cars up front, Justin. There's a bigger group. So that in itself is making these guys glide a little bit quicker. Take a look back up front. We see a lot of things tightening up.
And those drivers with Stan Gear, remember, led some decent amount of laps early on. Stouffer now gets the chance to be the lead car. The fuel window to make it to the end opens up in about 5 laps, though, Rocco. Who do you feel is going to try what strategy?
Well, that's going to be interesting, Justin, because I think in about 4 or 5 laps is about exactly when all of these guys are going to be on top of one another. So I don't think anybody's going to try to undercut anything. But obviously, if it stays green, they're going to have to figure out how to do it amongst themselves. Didn't quite work out the way everybody wanted to last time around.
Yeah, especially with some of the late pit calls from some of the drivers. Now it's back to near 2 wide. Nate Burke starting to get a little impatient because Andy Yerk is here. It's now 4 drivers, and it's about to become that 10 because Jason Galvin with a big boost down the back.
Yeah, and again, we're just seeing the sheer numbers behind him. 5 in his group, 4 in this group up front. So obviously the one with more cars is going to get it quicker.
They're actually hitting the rev limiter too at the back straightaway, heading into turn 3, Rocco, because of that wind at 217.
Right, it doesn't seem like that wind is messing with them sideways as much as we thought it might have, but obviously, like you said, giving them a nice little boost going down that stretch.
And here comes the fun. Now it gets interesting. Galvin already 3 wide. He squeezes Nate Burke out, trying to push Andy Yerk up the track. Lead is side by side. Rick Ravon now wants the clean air to try and run away.
And it's amazing how fast it happens. These guys were so far apart 10 laps ago.
Now before, remember, it was separated by about 1.6 seconds or so. Now, it's a whole bunch of fun. In total, 8 drivers have reached this group. 9th, 10th are also losing touch with lap cars, though. So they are slowly dropping behind by about a 10th a second. To the bottom side for the race lead, Jason Galvin. Up towards the point again goes the number 42, with a little help from behind from Mark Cohen.
Yeah, and if form holds true, we'll see Galvin stick really tight on this entry into turn 1, but then coming out of turn 2, this high line's had the momentum, especially the fact that the line's forming. Don't be surprised to see Ravon push around coming around this back stretch.
Caught it right there. Ravon, he hits the rev limiter though. Can't get fully clear this time. Pit window expected to open next time by to make it to the end of the race. As Galvin now slides up, blocks the top, back to the bottom. Cohen now trying to squeeze his way now the middle. Christopher still behind, and now the pack breaks up back to single file.
Oh, really tight between Ravon and Cohen.
Back half of the pack single file, near 3 wide of the front of the pack. Cohen trying to show what he can do in the 39. The gold machine, looking to have a golden run on the bottom.
Wow, what a run with nobody behind him. He's doing it by himself. Wow, where'd he get that speed?
He's been very, very strong the past few races. We talked about him as one of the spotlight drivers. He's now led his first lap of the race, a 33.8 last time by. That was quicker than some of the race leaders at the moment. He hits a bit of the seam in 1 and 2, just can't get clear. It's been this pace all race so far. If you're on the top, you take the lead down the backstretch. If you're on the bottom, you take the lead in turn 3.
And Justin, where else do we see that exact type of pattern at super speedways? We see the exact type of thing, rubber banding back and forth at Talladega and Daytona.
The rubber band sees going now up to the top. Galvin now wants the bottom side. He tries to take it back into 1. Yes, he does. Now Galvin with the advantage. Paul Jenkins now joining the fun. Where did he come from? He slipped back as far back as the end of the top 10 in this race tonight.
Right, and we didn't quite get 10, but we got 8 guys in this top group here. And it's going to be interesting. You did say it. They're going to have to stop one more time. What do you do? What if this thing stays green? What do you do, Justin?
I think some of these drivers may elect to stretch it to the end based on the tendencies we've seen already, Rocco. What would you do?
I would do exactly what you said. That's a great idea.
Paul Jenkins wants the lead, trying to give the squeeze to the 42. Couldn't hold it up too much, though. As now Cohen's up to the top, and Justin Kirby, another spotlight driver, is up back to the top 3. Remember, Kirby had several bits of contact and was involved in the first caution flag as near contact with Galvin this time.
Galvin with an aggressive move to move into first spot, top line to down, slicing and dicing. He's got a little bit more movement back there in fifth spot too.
Seen Rayvon trying to actually force a third line right next to the wall. These guys again being cutthroat, exactly what we've seen before, again for this lead as Kirby wants the point.
Yeah, and the funny part about it is they haven't even really started racing yet. There's still 32 laps to go.
What would you call major racing like this? They've gone back and forth, switching back and forth, it seems, like slot cars for about 10 laps.
Absolutely, Justin. It's been incredible to watch. When these guys really get on and they do it all as a group, it's really fun to see. These guys have put on a show for us tonight.
Kirby now takes his track down to the bottom. It's the rev limiter once again. He trying to squeeze out Cohen. I think Kirby's been the most aggressive on that with the later arc. It's been talked about a lot at times that drivers try and do that. It's risky with IndyCars, though.
Well, yeah, one wrong move and you're ruining, what, about 5 guys' races, and you've been running up front all night. These guys are slicing and dicing. We're starting to see whoever's up front be a little bit more aggressive in the defense. We saw a lot of giving up spots early on in the race. You see the inside line lose a lot of speed. Someone checked up. I think someone got a little loose.
Kirby had to get off the gas, nearly ran with the back end of Galvin, and some tempers are flaring about the lane choices here. These drivers up at the front are reaching the end of their fuel marks. Lap 34 this time by, remember, pit calls came in lap 35-ish for many of these competitors. A few drivers can stretch an additional 10 laps. Dan Guerin, Chris Ladidi, Gaston Ariano, Richard Swabley, Diego Asensnos, who are on the lead lap. Those are the drivers in the second pack.
Oh, these guys getting really close and tight. I don't know. I could see how the tempers would be flaring, being a little liberal with their lane choices going in and out of these turns.
No calls yet for many of the drivers as Galvin pushes way up the track out of turn 4. He said hello to the safer barrier. Going down stuck on the top line. Rayvon on the top as well as Stouffer. 2 on the bottom. Jenkins and Kirby. Fastest lap again set by Kirby. It's been amazing to see what that 43's done with the pace, with the help of draft. It just seems he cannot get clear to try and lead like some of the others have been able to do on their aggressiveness.
Yeah, and again, we see into the turn, low line is doing the quickness. And you go into the outside of the turn, back stretch, outside line has the quickness. So it's just back and forth, trying to get that last little bit so you can pull in front of the guy you're trying to pass.
7 cars currently in the pack. Kirby again with the later arc. Still no calls quite yet. We did run a few laps, mind you, under caution. That allowed drivers to change up the fuel mappings and save a bit of fuel so that number can be stretched a little bit. When do you expect some of the calls to come in?
I think we're going to start seeing guys pit around 3 or 4 laps from now, kind of cut that last stint in half, get on some fresh tires, because I think there's going to be a little bit of a speed difference with tires. Oh, man, Galvin's been cutting that close so easy. Someone peeled off in the back.
Chris Stouffer from the lead pack. He is the first of the lead drivers to pit. Undercut call for the number 7.
You know, we see a couple of guys got bit from the early caution. You don't want to be that guy, so maybe it's a good call to get in and get out and start to get that lap back before the caution comes out.
Our drivers, Andy Yerk, expecting to come in this time. Patricio for the second group. Expected contact!
Oh, we got contact.
Paul Jenkins up on the wall. Kirby in the wall. No caution yet as one driver hits the safer barrier. Now it's out as Kirby spins across the track. And the tempers flare a little bit as let's take a look. That was just as the pit call started raining down. Just looked like push way up the racetrack that time from Paul Jenkins.
Well, I'm not quite sure what these guys were doing. I keep looking at this, but I can't say that they didn't know each other was there.
Take a look. And yeah, bit of a squeeze from Kirby. They followed seam to seam, but the thing is, just seemed like Jenkins pushed up while Kirby was trying to squeeze on down and line it up to make a pass on Galvin. Seeing the late stages hard hit that time for Jenkins, and Kirby now forced to take the tow as a result. Pit stop window is now open as Jason Galvin's the leader into the pit stops, and now this could be crucial on how much fuel these drivers put in here for the final 25 laps or so.
Right, that little bit of fuel can give you that extra bit you need to get around in that final turn.
And remember, Christopher came down the pit lane, so did Christopher Matricion. They're now 1 and 2. This is the race to come off pit road for P3. First driver off the jacks, Jason Galvin, 8.3 seconds of fuel. Ray Vaughn put in about 8 seconds of fuel. Mark Cohen filled it up to the top at 8.8. Nate Burke took a 9.1 second stop. Andy Yerk about a 10-second stop in that window. Strikes have been given to 2 drivers in that incident. Justin Kirby given a strike. Rick Bravon, believe, also may have gotten one as well in that trouble. So the first strikes of the night, Rocco.
Yeah, we see that system starting to come into play. Just a quick review on the stops. We had Yerk and Burke. Actually, they lost a couple spots each. They actually overshot their boxes. So just cleaning up some of the activity in pit lane.
Explain some of the long pit stops too. But now it's the question of how is this going to be played, in your opinion? Because this is going to be a nail-biting final 23 laps, I believe.
I think you've made your last pit stop, honestly. You just took the fuel mileage out of play. There's, 24 laps to go. It's a sprint, Justin, and, we've heard the guys on the radio. They're not necessarily happy with one another. We've seen it. They're being awfully wide this evening. So it's be interesting to see how the last 20 laps plays out, because I think tempers are running a little hot right now. It should be pretty fun.
You see the biggest movers so far. Scott Rupp up plus 11, plus 10 for Lanini. They're the 2 biggest movers on the track at the moment. Trician and Burt did come down when the pit lane was closed on that call with the incident. That's why it was shuffled back from P2 all the way back to P14. Either way, Stouffer's in the lead, Galvin's in second, Ray Vaughn, Cohn, Burke, Yerk, Rupp, Guerin, Lanini, Robert Bluen round out the top 10. Who do you got at this point with how crazy it's been?
Well, first off, good on Chris Stouffer, not a name that we're used to calling up front. Good to see him up there with about 22 laps to go. Challenging for that top spot. I think in the top 10, just looking at some of the names, we got a lot of challengers. Galvin and Rayvon, they've been challengers. They've won races. Again, we have Nate Burke and Andy Yerk, had a little bit of trouble in the pits. We saw Dan Guerin, who came out really quick tonight. He's back there in 8th spot, but he's somebody to look out for. You want to think that maybe he's been kind of keeping it a little cool and letting things play out in front of him. But I think we'll see a lot of guys making a break for the top. There's 20 laps to go. The gloves are off.
Bit of a stacker up that time for Christopher. A little bit later, the latest we've seen on the race. Good jump, though, by 4/10 on Galvin. Vaughn also already a good jump. Mark Cohn up towards the top 4. No moves quite yet. By the way, second DNF of the race is official. Justin Kirby, along with Joe Hassert, now done for the night with 22 to go this time.
Yeah, and a little bit tighter start that we've been seeing. It should allow these guys to bunch up a lot quicker than we've been seeing. Probably about 4 or 5 laps. We'll see the top probably 10 come into play.
Yeah, we've seen it go down rather with the draft by about half a tenth to a tenth of a second the gap when a driver has cleaner air. Here comes that run, though, for Ray Vaughn. He wants to take away P2 quickly, and does on Jason Galvin, as he's not backing down at all. The gap is already gone.
Right, and again, these guys getting sucked up into that draft, and we're starting to see some really fine, desperate moves trying to get in between those top spots. You want to get out front now. You don't want to really mess around at this point in the race.
4 drivers now in the lead pack. Yerk, along with Burke, have been fighting in the second pack. That's why they haven't gained ground yet. But Galvin wants the lead, backs off, moves to the first line. Ray Vaughn goes up the track trying to arc it on down. His arc's taken away by Cone, though, in the fun 2x2.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because just being in that little spot that Rayvon needed, Cone was just taking away a little bit of that spot, taking away some of the benefit of that high arc you were talking about.
New race leader, it's Jason Galvin again, able to clear in turn 4. The second pack is now finally lined up. They've chosen Dan Guerin as their lead car for P5, York in 6. Chris Lanini, though, is trying to make it side by side, but the leaders are still fighting too wide at the front of the pack.
Yeah, I know these guys back there want to get up front, but the way to do it is to line up. So they need to stop being side by side and try to work together and catch these top 4.
They're doing that specifically, by the way, for the grouping 9th on back to try to reel in the second grouping. But squeeze on Galvin, still for now with the better run. A second squeeze to retake the lead at the stripe. 19 laps to go from Michigan.
You know, we see Galvin running it in really deep and a tough run from Stouffer. Good job hanging with these guys. Top 4 guys. We see Cone sticking his nose in there trying to follow Stouffer up that top line.
See, that second pack is about 1/10 of a second quicker than some of the cars in this grouping, but they are still fighting for the lead car now. Up the track goes Galvin, trying to block Chris Stouffer. Stouffer again on the outside line. Has Cone falling behind with Rick Rayvon. And Dan Guerin trying to focus on gaining up to these drivers as they scrap too wide again for the lead.
Now look at Galvin. He's fighting off this challenge from 3 guys running the second line in a single line, and he's still fighting them off. Might lose it here in that back stretch, but look at the speed he's got by himself.
Yeah, this has been very impressive, some of the driving we've seen. 3 drivers prefer the middle line right now in the early going on this stint. With 17 to go, Jason Galvin, the only driver who has to use the bottom line in this fight. They finally line back up a little bit for the second pack as this lead battle continues to go on, by the way. Dan Guerin and Chris Lanini finally working together to reel these drivers in. It's about 9/10 back from P3.
Yeah, the general information from the radio is just saying, let's work together. Let's catch these guys.
Though they are right there. York losing a little bit of touch. Also in that line is Scott Rupp, a +10. Lanini, the biggest mover. You see from underneath the left front tire as he tries to stay single file.
And again, getting that push behind from Cone and Rayvon, just not enough. It's been impressive to see Galvin able to just stick to that yellow line and maintain the speed to fight these guys off.
And some of these drivers who are lining up able to stick it as well. But Galvin, again, still side by side. Still continuing to fight as several drivers who tried to stretch it to get a lap back, having to come down. Copignoni had to come down for an unscheduled stop. Bennett and Bunch also coming down fairly soon. They're out of gas. That will pin them a lap down as Galvin tries to be the driver who can do it. If not, it's Stouffer.
Yeah, it's frustrating for these guys. They keep hitting the red limiter. They want to get that little extra boost, and the car is just not letting them do it.
Again, hitting that rev limiter halfway down the back straightaway with the wind coming from behind them down the straightaway is a major factor here at Michigan. Stouffer again wants the lead back. This is now into the headwind, and that's why, if you look towards the speeds, it's about 4 miles an hour slower. By the end of the straightaways here, they're 214 into turn 1, 218 into turn 3 in terms of miles per hour. Here's a look from Rayvon's view.
Yeah, we see these guys in front of him and how tight everything is, and you see that line just kind of stop. You saw Galvin getting closer, and then he just kind of stops, and then he starts moving away again. You got to think it's frustrating for these engines not to be able to wrap it up, but like you said, it's because of that wind.
The gap is just about closed between P4 and P5. It's now about 4/10 between the first pack and the second pack. The working together from behind these leaders finally coming into play.
Yeah, and we see Stouffer just lap after lap, just trying to push it around. He gets about a half a car length ahead of Galvin, and then Galvin just piles on the speed and is able to pull it into the turns. But as you said, Justin, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, right back there, it's about a 3/10 of a second gap between those groups.
You have to wonder how long Galvin can hold on to this bottom, though. He is burning up those tires, you'd have to think, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the tires are going to come into play that much on a, what is it, a 25 lap run, but it could be
23.
interesting. Okay, it could just be just what we need, though. Again, we're not seeing him get by much. He needs about an extra, what, hundredth of a second to get around this guy.
Just about. 11 to go this time. Gap between the packs now 3/10. And now the fun really gets starting, because Dan Guerin, Chris Lanini, Andy York, they're there with a shot to try and win this race coming to 10 to go. Drivers haven't informed Rocco that if there are any lap cars in the factor for the race lead, to yield to the lead cars with this fight with 10 to go.
Yeah, Justin, and just looking ahead, it looks like that Travis Bennett's that first car that would be caught up. I don't think they're going to get up with him. I don't think that's going to be a factor. We got action though up front, obviously.
Too wide up in front. And now Guerin is there. Fasten your seatbelts. This could be a wild finish. 9.5 laps to go. Guerin hits the rev limiter before he can get fully up there.
Oh, and I think we're going to start to see guys push a little bit in spots that they wouldn't normally push. On any given day without a 15-mile-per-hour wind, we might see passes up and down the back stretch, but since it's limited, we're going to have to see it done somewhere else, and that could cause for some intense action.
New fastest lap set by Chris Lanini. He's the driver drafting off of Guerin at 33.6 as the fuel wears down. They're now hitting the rev limiter in the draft, Rocco, before they get to the caution light at the halfway point of the backstretch.
Yeah, they're really getting in, and the benefit of the wind is like these cars just want to take off. But the funny part about it is these guys aren't like cruising. Nobody's cruising right now. Everybody's right on edge, and they've been going at it for a while. So what we're seeing now is everybody all together in the top top 7 spots, all in one big group.
They still have about 15 miles of racing to go to try and get to the checkered flag. Galvin trying to hold the bottom. Stouffer on the top line. Cone now on the bottom. Ray Vaughn moves up to the top. Top 4 side by side as Guerin now chooses the bottom line for the top 5.
And will we see somebody really make use of the super speedway? Will we see a third lane form up on these last few laps?
Ray Vaughn's trying to form one. Nearly gets to the right rear tire of the 7. Up the track goes Ray Vaughn. No contact. We stay clean as Ray Vaughn with a big boost down the back.
Oh, he's doing everything but bump drafting.
Guerin trying to make another peak. He wants to try and form that middle line this time. Up to the top. Galvin playing the lanes. Stouffer now picks up the draft off of Galvin. 6 to go this time. 12 miles left.
Yeah, nobody wants to go with Galvin. They all want to go around him. We see Ray Vaughn looking to the inside, thinking about it, but thinking better and making it 3 wide.
At this point, how do you time this out for the race win? Because it seems Galvin's in a good spot. And one car, I think, just scraped the wall. I think Guerin just about scraped the tire against the safer barrier.
Doesn't look like it slowed him too much, but back to your question, I don't know about the timing because we've been seeing the same thing. That's this carbon copy of the same lap over and over. So I think you got to try something different. It's not been working for 15 laps.
One car's trying something different. Ray Vaughn back to the bottom this time. Here comes Cone. 4 wide down the backstretch for second. Big boost for Stouffer in the middle line. Back to 3 wide for third spot. Galvin now runs away with 4 to go this time.
And we see a couple more guys sneak in. Lanini and Yerk saying we're still here too.
Ray Vaughn once again picks up the slipstream. Lanini now joins the fun, squeezes his way 3 wide. Cole's now been shuffled out of the front. Galvin, though, has the cleanest air. Ray Vaughn now tries to rip away second from Stouffer. Big ball off the corner. Ray Vaughn moves to the bottom side. 3 wide for the lead once again.
Oh, it's tight. Never want to be in the middle of that. Oh.
Near contact with Galvin. Drivers pushing tight. 3 to go. 6 miles left in the Irish Hills 200. Lanini trying to pull off the upset from the third car's back. Up on the top line go several drivers. Guerin trying to form the top line. Lanini forced to back off. He bobbled off the corner. Ray Vaughn now getting freight train as Galvin hits the rev limiter.
We've seen a little bit of a breakup in between that inside and outside line. That inside line still prevailing going into the turns. Oh, we see, oh, so tight. Almost wheeled to side panel there.
Galvin leads to the stripe. 2 laps rather to go. 4 miles to go. 3 wide again. Here comes Dan Guerin to the inside. He wants a third win.
Oh,
Contact with Ray Vaughn. Galvin gets turned. Hard hit to the wall. Stouffer involved. Caution flag is out. And that almost collects the second pack. And Rick Ray Vaughn is in the lead coming to the light flag. What a way for this race to end as the white flag is out. Checkered flag this time by.
We got some quick exit of the server. Usually a sign of not necessarily being as happy as you'd want to be at the end of a race.
And Dan Guerin absolutely licked the stamp, you have to say, though, to try and get a third win on the season. But Ray Vaughn able to hold on to it to make sure that car doesn't spin with the tire contact. Here's a look. It was 3 wide into the corner.
Yeah, we got to see if it's a matter of pushing too much here.
See, right about there. Pushed up the track. And Galvin gets collected. Also takes Stouffer with him. 2 of the front runners all day.
Yeah, it's a very ambitious move. Just ran out of a little bit at the end of that turn. Definitely think it's just a little too much force there.
And that was the one shot I think Guerin probably thought he had. He came from the 3rd row back. Had the biggest run of anybody.
Oh, no doubt. He had to make a move, or at least try to.
So those 2 cars demolished, but Rick Ray Vaughn comes away with a victory under caution. He's your winner of the Irish Hills 200 and a thriller at Michigan. Guerin finishes 2nd, Marcone in 3rd, Lanini and Yerk round out the top 5. For Ray Vaughn, a much-needed performance after his DNF last race. It's his 2nd victory of 2020. Your thoughts, Rocco, on the craziness?
It was an unfortunate way to see it end, but we did see a good move. Again, I think it had to be made. You know, and we weren't going to just sit back and let everybody cruise ahead of you for the victory. But we saw some really good racing tonight. I was real impressed to see a lot of these guys running as tight, as quick as they can. So all in all, a good race. You know, a lot of guys did well, so good for them. It was just fun one to see tonight, and I enjoyed being here.
Rick Ray Vaughn will get the chance to celebrate in the infield at Victory Lane. He's your winner at MIS, the Irish Hills 200. But stick around. The Rogue Energy post-race show is coming up. You're watching the Global Sim Racing channel live from the virtual Michigan International Speedway. Welcome back to the virtual Michigan International Speedway in Brooklyn, Michigan for the Rogue Energy post-race show. Rogue Energy drink is designed to replace unhealthy canned energy drinks, coffee, and even traditional pre-workouts. Rogue Energy is sugar-free and loaded with vitamins, antioxidants, and nootropics. Scoop, shake, drink, win. Use promo code UCORA Indy to get 10% off of your purchases at rogueenergy.com. A wild finish to the Irish Hills 200 and race 13 of the Acura Throwback Indycar Series. But for Rick Ravon, he gets to celebrate. He's your race winner under caution. Dan Guerin came home in second with a huge send to the bottom side coming into turns 1 and 2. Marcone comes home in P3. It's another P3 for him. Second or third straight, in fact, on the trough. Chris Laney comes home in 4th, his first top 5, let alone top 10 of the season, with Andy Earp in 5th. Rupp, the biggest mover of the race, among them rather, in P6 plus 12. I run for a lifetime, he said. Paul Jenkins in 7th, the biggest mover overall, Matrizian on P13 and 8th. Burke, a sentence notes. Round out the top 10 Rocco.
Yeah, Justin, we had Richard Swavely in 11th spot, followed by Arellano in 12th spot. Robert Blue wins, last guy to finish on the top lap, 13th spot. Everybody else either a lap or more down. We saw Travis Bennett end up on his roof. Julio Campagnoni a lap down. We saw a good, strong run from Galvin and Stouffer. Unfortunately, at the end, took him out. Paul Crumride, we lost a few laps early before the checkered flag. And then we saw Derek Cook, Justin Kirby, and Joe Hastert make early exits from tonight's race.
So a wild finish to this one, to say the very least. It could have went either way with some of the battling, and especially with some of the contact off of turn 2, but Rick Ravon comes away with a victory. Rick, how does it feel to win your second race of the season in a crazy race?
I don't even know what to say. I'm just beside myself. I don't even know what to say. I'm just speechless. I mean, what a race. I mean, we had that 38 lap from the opening green flag run, just side by side, dicing back and forth. I mean, all of these guys, what unbelievable. I mean, Dan Guerin, Mark Holm was up there, and Jenkins was up there, and I mean, just all of these guys, unbelievable. I mean, let me see who else was up there. Jason Galvin was up there. Hassert was up there for a little while. Chris Stouffer and I were duking it out. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I don't even know what to say.
What was your viewpoint on what happened, though, in turns 1 and 2? Because it was a crazy one, and that decided the race with it finishing under caution.
Well, I mean, that was Dan Guerin that went down there, and I got somebody talking in my ear right now. Let me take this thing off. I mean, look, I was in the middle. I was in the middle groove. I was protecting the middle, and Dan Guerin saw the opening. He went down there. He took a shot at it. I mean, he had every right to do it. And it was a great move, you know. But unfortunately for him, you know, that made us 3 wide. And coming off 2, he pushed up a little bit, and I was still trying to hold it down, so I didn't run into the STP car up there. And I think that was who was that? That was Galvin, I think. And
Yep.
And we touched, and I guess I touched Galvin, and that sent him spinning back there. And I says, "Oh, if the yellow comes out, I hope I'm out in front." And I was out in front. So, I mean, it just happened to work out great for me. It was a little bit of luck on my side with that incident, but hey, I'll take it. In this league, are you kidding me? To win a race in this league is phenomenal.
And a much-deserved one, especially after the DNF in the last race. Now, what's your focus going to be like to try and carry the momentum forward into the upcoming races once the calendar starts to turn the page to the upcoming summer months?
Well, to be honest with you, it's hard for me to make these races because I'm on the East Coast, and practice doesn't start until 9:40 Eastern Standard Time. That's really late for me. Normally, you have to get up for work at 5 o'clock the next morning, so it's really, really hard for me to make these races. But I understand why Scott Bolster does it. I mentioned it to him. He said, you know, you gotta consider the guys on the West Coast too, and so this is the balance, and also the TV time, because you guys are available for this slot, so I get it. But unfortunately, I don't know, because my schedule changes so much, if I'm going to be able to make the race next week, but I sure would love to.
Anyone you want to thank for your victory tonight?
Well, Justin, I want to thank Scott Bolster. He's the owner of the league, Scott. I can't tell you how much I love this league, and God, I wish it was a little earlier so I could make every race, because I would love to, go after a championship if possible. And in order to do that, you really have to make every race, but it's very difficult for me. So I want to thank him. I want to thank you guys up here in the booth. I guess it's Justin and Rocco and Sean. Thank you guys for what you do. I can't wait to watch the race letter, especially because I want it. It's going to be even better than normal, and you guys do a fantastic job. You're maybe the best in the business. I want to thank the Lord. I want to thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus, for a wonderful race. Win or lose, I just want to have a good race, make it to the end, and just have some fun. But we won tonight. Thank you, Jesus. I love you so much. Thank you to my wife. She's probably up there snoring away. She's got to get up for work in the morning. I love you, Alana. I love you, Mila, my daughter, and my other daughter, Zoe. She might have tuned in tonight. I don't know. But if you're watching, baby, I love you too. And thanks to all these drivers, man, Dan Guerin and Cohn and Lanini and Yerk and Rupp and Jenkins and Burke and all of these guys. Thank you for racing so hard and so clean. This was awesome.
Great race. Great victory. Congratulations, Rick.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
That's Rick Ravon coming home with the victory tonight. Lots of emotions. Rocco, though, is standing by with your second place finisher, Dan Guerin.
Thanks, Justin. And we're going to try to follow that up. That was a great interview. Dan Guerin, our winners had nothing but good things to say about you. Was really supportive of that move at the end of the race. Want to take us through it? Tell us how that came to play.
Yeah, it was a huge run there coming down the front stretch, and I just dove low. I was clear, so had the big run, dove down low down the bottom there, and I saw those guys. They were staying a lane higher, so I took the bottom lane there, and it stuck through one, it stuck through two, and just coming off two, it started to push a little bit, so I lifted, and by that time it was just a little too late, and Ricky and we touched there just a little bit, and unfortunately Jason just had his nose there. I looked at the replay, and when he moved up right after we hit, they touched then, and then it just sent him wrecking, unfortunately. And I'm friends with Jason. I've raced Jason now for several years in other leagues, and I love the guy. He's a great guy. I get to hang out with him at least once a year, and I apologize to him. He knows I'm a lot better racer than that. I don't just intentionally wreck people. I will race you hard all day long, but I will never intentionally wreck you. But I'm sure Jason will cool off, and we'll talk about it. We'll be all fine and dandy. But we'll see. Missed a few races of personal reasons, and come back here. Love Michigan and any kind of car racing. So kind of going for the win there with a lap and a half left.
Yeah, we did miss you in a few of the races, so it's glad to see you back. And we did see a little bit of struggling from you in some of the early races this year. So, like I said, it's really good to see you back up here. And again, it was fun to watch you guys run up front, long stints, and you guys were wheel to wheel. Are you comfortable in that kind of racing with the guys? Are you expecting somebody to possibly have to make a quick twitch move, or are you already seeing things before they happen at that point?
You tend to kind of pay a little bit more attention on where I'm going to be. I love this pack racing stuff. I just live for this stuff. It's just so fun. And you just got to strategically place your car every single lap. You have to try to plan 1 lap, 2 laps, 3 laps ahead, try to make your move. And that's what I was doing here. And halfway through the race there, I got caught up with the whole pit stop fiasco there, and then got caught behind some guys who didn't have, unfortunately, good restarts, but some late caution there helped me get back into it. But yeah, I love this type of racing.
Excellent, Dan. Well, before we let you go, anybody you want to thank?
Oh yeah, Midwest Simulations, track like this, you definitely need these spotlights. These things are incredible. Scott, Bolster, the league, all the guys I hang out with in the chat, just everybody in this league.
Excellent, man. Good to see you up here and glad to talk to you. And good luck next race. I think we got Phoenix coming up.
Thanks a lot. We'll see you there, hopefully.
That was Dan Guerin coming home in P2, Mark Cohn coming home in P3. And it seems like you finish in P3 a lot. You have finished there a lot so far. 1 fourth place mixed in, 3 P3s. How are you feeling on the third step of the podium of this race tonight here at Michigan?
Well, I would have wanted it to have been 2 steps higher, but Rick Raven, I've known him for a long time. Good dude. He did what he had to do, and short of doing a crazy send-it move, that was. I'm happy with P3, but at the same time, hopefully within the next 7 races left of the season, I can finally get to the top step of the podium.
It looked like it was absolute craziness, but at the same time, we heard some of the excitement from Ravon, the race winner. What was it like racing in that pack of cars? Because at some points, the lead group had 11 cars scrapping.
Well, I'll tell you this, it was crazy, but Loud Pedal Motorsports and NLR, Graphics NLR SimRacing, the guys there, and Jason Galvin, he helped me, him, Tyler Graff, and Big Joe Hassert helped me so much through this whole race. I hate that Jason got screwed at the end there because he was really looking good, but thanks to my team, it was a great race.
Next race is going to a short track at Phoenix. Your thoughts on that one?
Well, Phoenix is where I got my first Lionheart Challenge Series win and my first Retro Series win, so I'm always happy to come back there. Gonna be going for it, as always.
Gonna definitely keep an eye on you. Real quick, who do you want to thank?
Well, I've already mentioned my teams. Of course, my sponsors, Sam Mexel Customs, SimLab, Graphics Esports, D2 Race Designs, of course, Dan Guerin's operation. Good runner-up for him. Sea Blue Software, Midwest Simulations. Can't say enough about Spotlights. If you don't have them, go and get them. Thumbs Up, Cancer Down, and of course, the Wars Candy Shop. And Scott Bolster, he puts on a great league here, and all you guys at Global Sim Racing Channel, best broadcasters in esports racing.
Congratulations on the P3 tonight. Very hard fought.
You guys, see y'all at the next one.
Mark Cohn coming home in P3. Rocco, your quick final thoughts on this one.
Yeah, Justin, we saw a lot of tight racing today. A quick move at the end, desperation move. It was either make or break, and we saw Rick Ravon take one home. Good win for him. A couple guys on the podium we haven't seen, so excellent race. I was excited. I was happy to do it and ready to go on to Phoenix in a few weeks.
Speaking of that, what type of race do you expect to see there? Because it's a track that just recently started seeing IndyCar racing back there in the modern times.
Yeah, it's going to be a little different, obviously. It's not as wide open, not even close. So a little bit more of a different discipline. I think we'll see a lot of the guys that we saw today run out front. And as always, I think we'll have a good few new names sprinkled in with there.
I think so too, and that one should be an absolutely interesting race. But I'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's race from the virtual Michigan International Speedway. I'd like to thank the Ultimate Conquest Online Racing Association for fulfilling this exciting race and exciting series, and the many sponsors who take part in the action, including 9-4 Motorsports, D2 Race Designs, Midwest Simulations, with the spotlights along with Rogue Energy for post-race coverage. Are you interested in advertising with GSRC? Our channel's 1 million monthly global impressions are a great way to get your branding seen by a diverse audience. Follow the link in the description to the YouTube version of this broadcast to learn more about the Global Sim Racing channel. I'd like to take the time to thank the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed now up on your screen. Additional thanks to Jude Lawan, who provides our wonderful music. Screen for how to get a hold of more for great work. Thanks to the team today and Rocco and Sean. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including the upcoming races, you can find out globalsimracingchannel.com. To support the channel, you can check out our merchandise for sale at gsrc.storenvy.com, or check out our social media on GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Gray. Don't forget to head over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing channel. As just discussed, the next race on the calendar goes to Phoenix. August 13th is the date. Be sure to tune in. Coverage starts at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's about 7:30 p.m. Pacific and 2:30 a.m. GMT. We also have upcoming races for other series listed up on your screen now, so be sure to check those out and mark them down in your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.